Good Friday morning to you. Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Deep trough of lower pressure divides the country, centered in the eastern semi-half of the U.S. And, of course, the flow is coming in out of the south. We have one disturbance that's beginning to move in and toward Vermont, just starting to be producing a little bit of rain shower activity in the Bennington area. This will continue to overspread all of the region late this morning or into the early afternoon. This will be a quick hitter as it'll move on by and taper off during the overnight period. And temperatures this morning have been in the 40s and now rising into the 50s. We're going to see slightly warmer conditions during the day on Saturday, where temperatures should make it into the 60s as some of these warmer temperatures make it up the coast and into New England. And you're looking at the total precipitation amounts. This is roughly through about 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and most of the precipitation will have fallen through that point. And we're looking at roughly a little heavier precipitation right along the central Green Mountains in the areas around Rutland, about 4/10, and a little less as you get further to the north. The overall, though, it definitely favors over the next 5 days a little bit more in northern areas as opposed to southern areas. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Rivers are running fairly close to BRIM, and those are the only real concerns for high water right now with fence line conditions. A few are into action stages, but not anticipating issues with light to moderate amounts of rainfall, off and on sort of episodic periods, most favoring northern areas. And we'll take a look at that 5-day total PRECIP map eventually here. Also, there'll be some wet snowflakes possible across mountaintop levels on Sunday and Monday as colder air aloft begins to lower the freezing level. This is currently occurring right now across the Great Lakes, and this colder air will be over us on Sunday and into Monday and Tuesday, so some wet snowflakes are possible at mountaintop levels. Best chance for good project weather is going to have to wait until probably the middle of next week, Wednesday. Kind of lower confidence on this, and by that point we're starting to see above normal temperatures combined with instability beyond that point, basically for Thursday and Friday, late part of next week. And that might mean some potential for some thunder. At this point in time, it's very low confidence levels, but something we're going to have to watch, and we are getting into the season for that. So here's our precipitation. It's moving into Vermont for this afternoon. This is valid at about 8 o'clock this evening. We'll jump the 6-hour panels. You can see precipitation works on out overnight. Then another little shot of scattered lighter showers works in. And you might notice the blue dashed lines here. This is colder thicknesses. That means it's colder air aloft. And that's where we get some mountaintop light snow shower or flurry activity mixing with rain down on valley floors. Should not present an issue for travel nor for utilities. It's fairly light amounts. You can see how that is broken off now, kind of a cutoff low, kind of classic situation here, as the coldest air is kind of where that upper low is located. Still a little bit of moisture circulating in, and this is valid during Sunday night. So carrying that a little bit further, you can see a little colder there on Sunday night into Monday morning, and then through the day on Monday, missing panel, and then it looks like we have just the back edge of that system where temperatures are starting to warm up, and that pulls away. We have a ridge of higher pressure that's going to bring us good weather on Wednesday. This is kind of almost a Bermuda high type scenario here. And so that means pretty good warm up. And a lot of that warm feed is going to come out of the Gulf of Mexico. That probably will include some moisture. And the situation is such that that whole area is going to be fairly short-lived, that ridge of higher pressure. So basically 1 day's worth. That looks like to be on Wednesday. And then beyond this period, we're looking at the possibility of some thunderstorm activity working in, probably along about Thursday and maybe lasting into Friday with several different situations. You can see almost a Bermuda high scenario. Now this is valid as we get into the late part of next week. This is actually overnight Thursday night. That's Friday morning. And during the day on Friday could be an active one at that point with a cold front. Temperatures warm enough. Instability probably will pop a little bit. So we can see some thunderstorms in this general area for late next week. Something to look forward to. Fairly busy pattern shown here by the Jeff's plot, the GFS ensemble, centered on Burlington. And you can see just cold enough with a couple of whiskers here of snow but mostly all rain, and we're looking at relatively light amounts. This is 3/10, 6/10, 9/10, and so forth. You can see that over time it does add up, but the general closest shot group, if you will, is going to be on the low end rather than the high end. A few of these outlier ones could be problematic for flooding, as we are, again, many of our rivers are brim full, but it does look like this is not going to be a problem with very light amounts, almost moderate amounts over the next 5 days and even beyond that. At the Weather Prediction Center, the 7-day total QPF accumulated precipitation. The blue line is the 1-inch line here, so 1 inch north, less than 1 inch to the south. That's 5/10 or half-inch line in the green. 1.5 inches right up near the Canadian border and 2 inches over toward Quebec City and so forth. It looks like the main track of storms, if you will, is going to be from basically Texas through the eastern Great Lakes and a little bit more into southeastern Canada. So GFS ensemble temperatures. Let's check the 850 hectopascal level, roughly a little higher than Mount Mansfield or in the vicinity. So this is our temperatures when they're above the 0-degree isotherm. That means it's rain. Below that, probably snow. And we get into that right into the area there as we get into this weekend. And so hence a few mountaintop wet snowflakes. Nothing of any major concerns. I don't think this is going to get down to the valley floors. There could be a couple wet snowflakes at night, but nothing that's going to land and stick. Just a little kind of blast from the past. And then we warm up as we get into the month of May. And temperatures get into a bit much warmer conditions. Looking at the diurnal ranges in temperature, 55 for today, in the 40s, low 40 to 45 tonight. Again, this is at Burlington, a little bit warmer than the Montpelier area, for example. And then we get into 65, a little bit of a cool off, and then temperatures do warm back up into the 70s as we get into the 2nd of May, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And this is where we have to watch the possibility of some thunderstorm activity around the corner. Next 5-day total mean temperatures. This is max temperatures only, weighted, and you can see warm in the plains, a couple areas in the Great Lakes, and now the northeast United States. This is neutral. It's colder than normal in the west and across portions of central and western Canada. But about 3 days later, well, it warms up considerably more. We're talking almost 10 degrees above normal. This is a massive change from most of April. These are going to be the warmest temperatures encountered yet this spring. Looking at the world at large, coldest anomalous temperatures are in Canada and the North American continent, also in Greenland, but notice everywhere else is warm. That also includes the southern hemisphere for the most part. Some, southwestern or southeastern Pacific areas are seeing slightly below normal temperatures, but it's mostly above normal across a wide area of Asia, Africa, North American continent, anomalously cold. And this has been kind of the par for the course for our month of April. So for the world, we're running about 0.6 of a degree above northern. Northern hemisphere is 0.8 of a degree. Southern hemisphere, just 0.3 of a degree. I was down in the areas of the South Seas for most of April, and I can confirm that there's not a lot of sea level rise issues down there compared to the north of the equator in the northern hemisphere. The Arctic is much warmer, 1.5 degrees Celsius. Antarctic, just 0.4 of a degree Celsius. And in the tropics, they're not seeing as much warming. So the main warming areas are occurring especially in the Arctic. And, of course, this is affecting the jet stream pattern for the northern hemisphere. But I also will tell you that in New Zealand, we've had issues with anomalously bizarre weather also occurring in parts of New Zealand per some of the locals I've talked to. And quickly, with rivers running high, the GFS ensemble shows where the maximum issues are on the various rivers, partially due to snowmelt as well as rainfall. The North American ensemble is very similar, a little more widespread. Short range ensemble is very similar. Again, generally cuts right through the center of the state. And so we'll take a look at Otter Creek here. We're coming out of the action level. It looks like the action stages, and this is fairly good to go by because things do dry out over time. Temperatures aloft get colder. That means a little more snow, a little less rainfall on the upper tops of the mountains. And the general trend is that we are seeing less precipitation concerns over time until we warm up around Wednesday, Thursday of next week. Thursday we'll have to watch, Thursday and Friday, with the potential for higher precipitable waters moving in, and that means potential for thunderstorms, but that's well around the corner. That's it from here, Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.